A warm welcome along, everybody, to the Big Five Racing Podcast, talking all things National Hunt Racing. And week 4 of the jump season is now with us. Plenty of thrillers from the first weekend of racing at Cheltenham. First meeting of the year now in the books as we keep the pace hot into the run for Christmas. And no doubt more spooky results to come our way as we wish all of you a very happy Halloween week. Delighted to be back on your screens for this week's racing. We've got plenty to take you from both sides of the Irish Sea. We'll go over to Down Row shortly before we've got some handicap action at Ascot and some graded action from Wetherby, including the famous Charlie Hall Chase. The two amigos are back with me as well. Corty and Matty back joining me after the first weekend's racing in the books from Cheltenham Court. I suppose we're going to recap some of the races, and we'll obviously recap the big race that saved this podcast and some from Saturday. But back up the hill for a couple of days racing. A bigger crowd this year is something I noticed as well. On both the Friday and the Saturday was absolutely as busy as I've ever seen the October meeting, but it felt very good, very just a nice meeting to be back to, and it kind of gave a good positive sign, I think, for the rest of the season. And I'm sure you had as good a time as I did.
Yeah, no, really good to be back at Cheltenham, see some familiar faces, and yeah, nice to bang in some winners over the Friday and Saturday anyway. So yeah, always have a couple of winners, but no, good card, and yeah, good couple of winners.
Absolutely, yeah. Just a nice meeting, really. Matty didn't join us under the weather still from what sounded like an absolute all-timer of a weekend. We're not going to talk any football on this podcast for the foreseeable, but the racing was good, and we got some nice results in the end.
Yeah, no, a bit under the weather, and had to celebrate Villa's win against City with a couple of beers, and I'm sure that's not out, but good to have racing back at Cheltenham. Spent most of Saturday watching it on the telly, flicking between the football and stuff. But no, it's good, and an informative meeting over the 2 days for sure. And yeah, I think we can take bits and bobs of form from it.
We can 100%. What we're going to do is the 3 featured races from last week. We're just going to kind of scan through those quickly. Just before we do kind of crack into those as well, I'll have a comment on banner in a minute for you. But tomorrow, just a reminder that the Breeders' Cup World Championships is this weekend from Del Mar on the Friday and the Saturday. We'll be back here. Myself and Liam from the Racing Post are going to be here to take you through all of the turf action on the Friday, and then the Saturday, taking you through the whole book. Of course, that race for the decade. Plenty to look forward to, so keep tuned and your eyes peeled for that one. We'll go back to the Friday then. It feels like a very long time ago, that Friday now, doesn't it? Caught the Odds Checker Novices Hurdle took place, the feature race on the Friday. This is a bit of a weird one to open up with. Fortune de Mer, who you put up against us, who went on Unson Alavé, who's still running, went, 5-2, I think, whenever we got the podcast. Absolutely massive barge ball out to 14-1, the SP for this one. Didn't win like a good thing, but it grinded out the victory. A very cool ride from Harry Skelton on the far side of the stand. There's a lot to delve into here, really. Before we talk, well, actually, you know what? I'll talk about the price with you first. You see something drift from 5-2 to 14. It was enough to take you off on the day, as it would a lot of people. It just feels very sort of, how do you put this entire thing into perspective?
Yeah, I know it's very, very strange. Drifts always are off-putting, but when you see something from, the likes of a Dan Skelton yard, it makes you think even more. I think the same thing happened at Fontwell on Sunday with a 2, and I think that was something like 14s, 18-1 or something. So yeah, they do win these drifters, but yeah, it can be very off-putting. I did see something over the weekend that was Fortune de Mer took it hills at 32.5 miles per hour, I think, average, which was the joint quickest over the 2 days. And the second horse, Dr. Blue, lost 7 seconds over his hurdles compared to Fortune de Mar, and only went down by a short head on hurdle debut. So I think the second horse in Dr. Blue has definitely want to take out the race. That was making its hurdle debut straight in a Grade 2. Didn't run for a while and pushed a race fit rival of Fortune de Mer right to the line. So that went in my notebook and one I'll be looking forward to running in due course.
Yeah, fine notes there for the second of the Sam Thomas horse. His horses are running very well. I've got one later coming up for you from Ascot as well. Matty Son Alavi, only 7th and really disappointed. At one stage, looked like he was progressing into the race quite nicely, got in touch with the leaders, but then around 2 out, just found absolutely zilch.
Yeah, absolutely no excuses for that, to be honest. Interestingly, the race gave off more of a handicap feel than a graded novice hurdle. I think you could tell how many were there, at the end with a chance jumping the last. And I think, yeah, I mean, it was no surprise to see Fortune de Mer win ultimately. I mean, we had Tris on last week and, discussing how much ability the horse has, but we just didn't know if that would be, if it'd all come right for him on that day. But in the end, it did. And, I seen he got an opening mark of 124 or something like that. If that's awfully lenient. And I'm sure, Dan Scouten did say he'll be plotting back from the county. So I'm sure, there'll be options, maybe something like the Dovecot Novices Hurdle at Kempton over Christmas, something like that. But yeah, I think he's going to be a lively contender for a county hurdle if that's where he ends up.
Yeah, Dan's got a very good record in the county hurdle. He will not want that going up a much higher rating than 124. I agree completely. I think that it's just not a grade 2 in standard. It should either be demoted to a listed race or it should be made into an open handicap. Look, I know that Cheltenham want to try and make as many graded races as they can into the far end of the season, but this just didn't have a feeling of anything. Like, Willie Mullins probably has about 46 horses in his stable who could run better over 2 miles than these did. Nevertheless, that was the novice hurdle. Sorry?
Why didn't he send one? Why didn't he send one?
He's got no interest in sending one over. If he needs to, then what was the race worth? What, 15 grand at a maximum? That's not going to make a difference to him come the end of the season if he's trying to win a title.
If you can't get the good horses coming over in a grade 2, then what's the point of dropping it down to a listed race?
I suppose, to give more of an open chance to smaller trainers and to make the race a fairer standard of what it is.
But if the big trainers aren't asked about the 15 grand race, and surely it's fine as it is. If you're saying it gives a chance to smaller trainers, but the big trainers aren't sending them over, so surely you're just contradicting yourself.
Well, my perspective on it is that it becomes unfair marketing. If you're going to have a grade 2 race where the standard is that, where I don't care about the drift or the winner, but particularly I look at all of those and think none of them are ever going to win another grade 2 or a grade 1 in any decent company. I just don't think it's fair to assess something like that as a grade 2. I just think that the race is promoting itself at a higher quality than it actually performed at personally. Maybe that could be a controversial opinion. I just don't think you should.
Yeah, I think it's a bit harsh. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see the winner go in some form of graded company, whether it's handicaps. And like Cott's already spoke about the second horse, to do that on hurdling debut around Cheltenham, that's got to be a pretty useful horse in its own right. And I think there's horses back in the field that you're not going to see in a 0 to 140 handicap. Probably they're not that good, but I think it could chuck in a couple. The ultimate, the reason Willie's not sending anything over, or Nicky Henderson and none of these have fired their big novices at, is because if you're wanting a graded novice winner in March, you don't start them off in October, I don't think. I mean, it's different for horses going down the handicap route. They're going to have I imagine Fortune de Mer will have a staggered season now. He might have a break, or there'll be a break in there at some point. Whereas if you want a Supreme horse or a Turner's horse to rock up, you just don't start them off in October because it's way too much for them to deal with in a novice season ultimately. But I think when you get onto the November meeting, that's when you'll start to see the better novice hurdlers out. I'm sure Dan, Ollie Murphy have got big guns lined up for them, and where the Willie comes over, we'll see. He's normally quite happy keeping his novices over that side of the water until it gets to March, so we'll just see.
Yeah, the program is so good in Ireland. That's another thing I would say. I subscribe to plenty of what you both just said there, but there's no need for him to, because you've got equivalent races like this that are going to run at Ferryhouse and Punchestown over the next few weeks. So there's just no real semblance of them coming over. But I didn't take a particularly big format. Like one thing I would say is Fortune de Mer obviously loves Cheltenham. We were there last year when he won the bumper, our hands and heels ride. That was fantastic. So horses for courses, Fortune de Mer could well win a county hurdle purely because he likes the place. That'd be the main thing I would take out of that. The saving grace for us from Cheltenham came on the Saturday in the 4-year-old Masterson's holding hurdle. Give it to me, OJ. A neck. I mean, cool enough ride, I suppose, from Caelan Quinn here, Cotty. He was obviously given the instruction, as he has kind of done in most of his jumps races, to bowl along from the front, take his hurdles, and see them out that way. Did enough in the end. I think there's 6 wins now in 2025. That's an astonishing thing for any horse to do, regardless of what company you're in. But we tipped him up at evens, won at 4-9, got the job done.
Yeah, no, I didn't really. I had it in a nice double and that, so I didn't have to get stuck in at 4-9 on the day, which was always good. But yeah, it was just kind of gutsy, wasn't it? Really, I think, like you said, it was a head or a neck, but I don't think it was ever in any real trouble. You know, if there was another furlong, I think it would have, it would have been it would have been the same outcome. So sometimes it's good to win like that. Being a punter, if you win by 20 lengths, yeah.
Yeah, he really was the big bet of me for the entire meeting, Matty. And if there's anything more fear-stricken than Sean Bowen coming up your outside at Cheltenham, I would love to know, because there was obviously that fear. I was thinking, fuck me, of course it's Sean Bowen. The week he's had 2 4-timers, I thought there was plenty there. And the second Hamlet's Night is definitely one I'm going to take away from this 4-year-old company. I don't know about the other 3, but the top 2 pretty good horses, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was not ideal. Give it to me, OJ, to make the run-in, but best horse in the race. The only way the others were going to get him beat was probably through a mismatch of speed, or a falsely run race. And I think Caelan Quinn done very well in making sure it was run at a good enough gallop, and also saving himself enough to go on again up the hill, which he did. Nice horse. I think he's one that I'll be keeping close to this season. I just hope that he continues to progress, doesn't get overrun. I feel like Gary Moore sometimes runs his horses a bit too much, and especially when you got a nice one like this, it'd be nice to see him map out a bit of a campaign. And he's going to be tricky though. He's a 4-year-old. He raced against his own age on Saturday. He can't do that now. There's no more 4-year-old races, which I think is something that could be tweaked within the schedule, because it's hard for the 4-year-olds now. But he's going to have to go in and appear in a handicap or a grade 1 open, grade 2 open race, which I think is a big ask.
Well, they were talking at the weekend about going to, I think it's in 2 weeks' time, there's a big flat handicap at Doncaster to close out the season. I think that's the next part. But then, like you've just said there about Gary Moore running his horses into the ground, that's probably the last thing you want to hear.
No, well, I mean, he only ran 30 days before I think he won at Epsom before this win at Cheltenham, and you will run him again in 2 weeks, and that's more than any top class jump horse has ran by November time. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but we'll just have to see how his season maps out. But for me, I think he'd have a nice handicap in him. And I mean, even something like the Greatwood Hurdle on the Sunday of the November meeting, surely something like that's got to be worth noting for Gary Moore. But we'll see. We'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, I said to one of the lads and members on the Saturday after it ran, that'll probably go to the Greatwood next, and I would back it if it did, but obviously if it's going to go to the handicap as well, you don't want to see that horse run itself into the ground too much. We're just going to take you through to Aintree as well to crack on with the Old Roan from the Sunday. We didn't manage to find the winner in this one, unfortunately. Cotty did the best out of his Master 2. He finished second within 2 lengths, but it was all about Hitman, who normally does manage to find a good race this side of Christmas and managed to land this one. Paul Nicholls back on the board. This is a big win for him, isn't it, Matty? I mean, we talked about him needing to have a big season. It's not gone great from the last couple of years. This is going to help a lot. And Hitman, 2.5 mile handicap. That's his bread and butter all day long.
Yeah, I thought a very good ride by Freddie Gingle. He featured on one of the new Gallop episodes, and I thought it was a brilliant, insight to his life. And he's had it tough, really, losing his mother. And fair play to him, because he really can ride. And he's in there now at Paul Nicholls as second jockey behind Harry Cobden, and he looks like he's well up to doing the job. He's obviously gets plenty of rides from his uncle Joe Tizard as well. So he's got a very, he's has a very big future ahead of him if he carries on the way he does. And I can only imagine he will, because he looks like he's got a very level head on his shoulders. Yeah, disappointing. I mean, they did get a bit of rain in the end. Probably didn't suit Boomball, my selection. He sort of really thrives off, good ground, top of the ground. So not beating too that far. But again, not much to take out the race. Like you say, Hitman normally picks up a race before Christmas. Where do we see him next? Maybe the Paddy Power. Yeah, but he's going to have obviously took a hike for that. We won't find out till next week, but he's going to go up, and that's going to make his life tricky in the Paddy Power. Very disappointing to see a Hoisin just looks like he's not. I mean, he always runs his best races at Aintree, and the way he ran on Sunday looked like a horse that hated every second of being back at Aintree. So that's disappointing to see. And I think Lucinda Russell's got a big mission on her hands to get that horse back to the form, that he once showed.
Yeah, the right thing to do with a Hoist and yours, retire him. I think at this stage, the performance there on Sunday, unfortunately, just wasn't good enough. I thought he was a big price, but evidently that was why just his best days have gone by him. If he can't do anything good at Aintree, I don't trust him anywhere else in the country. Equally, I kind of lost my race at the start of Imperial Saint. I was watching the coverage on Racing TV just beforehand, and Imperial Saint was just refusing to line up with him. He was being completely agitated, and then when he did jump off, he just ended up being a bit too more prominent than I wanted him to be. His jumping was poor. Really just an overall disappointing performance there, unfortunately. So no good there. McCart, you did the best out of his Master Chew. He was good with his jumping.
He's a front runner, isn't he?
Sorry?
I said he's a front runner, that Imperial Saint, and you're saying he's lined up too prominently for your liking.
Yeah, I'm more keen than anything. Like he likes balling on from the front, but the way he was refusing to line up, he was a complete nightmare the entire race. I don't know if you watched it, but he was just
I did watch it.
Yeah, like he took 5 minutes to get in line with him, and then you would have thought they would have tried to settle him. I know he's a front runner, but I just didn't like anything that happened really on Sunday. Master Chewy was the best out of the lot for us. He jumped well for you, and he stayed on quite nicely over 2.5 miles. They've probably got the right distance in a flat deck for him. He is going to win races, Master Chewy.
Yeah, I don't know. He was travelling well, and then all of a sudden that hit went a couple of lengths clear, and I thought, for a horse that has ran over 2 mile, I was a bit disappointed how easy Hitman went away from him. And then obviously Hitman's jumped the last 100 yards. He obviously seemed to tire a bit, Hitman, and then Master Chewy was coming back a bit. But I just thought he kind of lost the race from 3/4 throughout the race to, the last quarter. He kind of lost it. But I was happy the majority of the way round, and I thought I was the winner turning in. I thought I was going to go on and win, but not to be. But you can't win every race, and it could be a good run for me money, so I've got no complaints here.
Fine effort, and we'll take plenty of form from that 2.5 mile old run going through the rest of the season. We'll be back at Aintree next week as well for the Grand Seft, and a very good meet. And I've been to plenty of times. It's a fantastic day out. That was the week that was. Then let's bring you some tips from this week, because you can't make money in the past, but you can certainly do it in the future. We've got 3 race courses and 5 fresh races, Grade 1, Grade 2, and handicap action to take you from Britain and Ireland. We'll start in the latter as well, Northern Ireland. Saturday, 2:40, Down Royal, the Bet Victor Champion Chase. It's a Grade 1 over 3 miles. Unfortunately, sort of working on anti-post prices because they don't price the Irish races up very well. But some of the main perennial contenders here, you've got Spillane Tower, who was fantastic, of course, last season in the John Dorkin is the 6-4 favourite. Envoy and the old boy, he's won this race before at 7-4. Big old prices about the rest. Matty, I'll come to you then first for this one. The Bet Victor Champion Chase on Saturday. You've got a couple of these now that have had runs in the last couple of weeks and months. You've got the likes of Spillane Tower coming back for the first time. Some good horses have won this race in the past, and it kind of acts as the first Gold Cup genuine picture race, I suppose. Obviously, with the Charlie Hall to cover in a moment as well, but really, this is where you're looking possibly for an outside contender in the Gold Cup. Spillane Tower is a 6-4 favourite here. Ran some good races last year. Small yards. Is he one you're on side with on Saturday?
I mean, on ratings and stuff, it'd have to be, but I'm just be, wary of the ground. Saying good to Yielding at the moment. They were a bit cautious running this horse at Kempton in the King George on better ground. He didn't run that well that day, to be honest. So whether he comes here or not, I'm not sure. I think you don't want to risk a horse with his ability if you don't need to, and there's plenty of other options for this horse down the line. And then I think after that you just end up back at Envoy Allen, don't you? I mean, he's 11 years old now, but this is his horse's Gold Cup. I can imagine he's going to be absolutely primed for this race. Loves it round Down Royal, loves this race. I just think he'd be hard to say a horse is reliable at 11, but you know what you're going to get with this horse. And he'd be my selection in the race based on, I don't think Spillans Tower will run. Yeah,
the old guard on well and won it 12 months ago. No reason he can't do it again, coming back off his seasonal reappearance from the Ryanair Chase. Caught good horses at the top of the market. I mean, they're only really going to be filling the places in for the Gold Cup, obviously, aren't they? But there's a good, there's a nice pot here, 94,000 euros, about 80. That's about 80,000 pounds. It's not a bad grade one to pick up this early in the season. A lot of old guards in here. Who have you gone for?
Yeah, I've took a different angle here, and I've gone for the highest rated of them of the lot. Founder 50. He was used to running at 2 mile and 2.5 mile. Obviously, stepping up here to 3 mile for the first time. But it is 2 out of 2 round Down Royal. A couple of disappointing efforts in the middle of the season last year. Was pulled up at the Dublin Racing Festival when only a 4-1 shot. Was then 5th, being 25 lengths in the champion chase at the Cheltenham Festival, and then went up in trip to 2 mile 4 at Fairyhouse at the back end of April and landed a Grade 2 prize. I just think there's a few horses in here that they're getting on, and they all run against each other. They all beat each other, and I just think this horse could. I know he's 8, but going over 3 mile for the first time, has won a point over 3 mile, but under rules, first time at 3 mile, could just bring out a little bit of improvement. Gordon Elliott's horses tend to do very well at this meeting, so I think he's around the 10 to 1 mark. So I'll have him to have a little squeak into a place, and if he can go win the race, happy days. But I'll be more than happy with the place.
He's been a consistent Grade 1 contender now for a couple of years, particularly over hurdles. Looks to try and get himself all the way up to 3 miles here for the first time over rules. Like you said, they're Founder 50, a 10 to 1 play for yourself. Gordon Elliott, who just dominates this meeting. And I suppose, really, of the main contenders, I agree with Matty that Spillans Tower might just want absolutely rapid ground, and it doesn't look like he's going to get it. So I'd be in favour of legging him, to be honest, at 6 to 4 more than anything. I thought Western Fold, he was a non-runner in the race a couple of weeks ago against Croke Park and Hartwood. Probably looks the best of his contenders. If he's going to go fresh, he has about a 7 to 1 shot, which I thought was pretty fair. Be completely dismissive of me not to put my old friend Croke Park up for the second time in 3 weeks. He's absolutely bowling along, isn't he? He's double entered. He's in the Charlie Hall as well this week, but I just cannot see him coming over to Yorkshire for that one, to be honest. Obviously, he had a bit of a disappointing turnout last time. Was third in Punchestown, was it a few weeks ago? Very, very clearly carrying a lot of condition, as Ruby Walsh said in the paddock beforehand, and will look to probably be a bit more aggressive. People will try and make it out that this horse is going to come into his best in March, April. I don't know if that's 100% the case. I think that firing him out quickly here is probably for the best. If he does decide to go down this route, Gordon Elliott did a stable tour as well there last week. I was really interested to it. They're not sure if they're going to go down a Grade 1 route with Croke Park, or they're going to try and get him into open handicaps and build him up to a Grand National. He's already rated 153, so there'd be no problem getting him into that, obviously. So interesting to see how he goes, but hopefully that run from Punchestown is going to help him here. I thought 20 to 1, big old price if he does decide to run. Not a bad each way bet at all. I'm sure you can all agree. Over to Yorkshire then for the hurdle, the West Yorkshire hurdle, the 222 on their card. Usually a pretty good race as a sort of already stickler towards the Stayers events at the end of the season. Strong lead as the 2 to 1 favourite to do exactly that. Your old friend Matty Pottershaw 4 to 1. I mean, if you decide to go with him here after all of the negative connotations you've given him over the last 18 months, the ground might shake.
Yeah, definitely not for me. Stepping into open company for the first time, I'd need to see him improve a lot to be ever considering backing him again.
I think you need to see him win a Stayers hurdle before you like him.
Probably, yeah. I need to see him do something special in open company. He was a half decent novice, and then I think he just got found out for what he is, and that is a half decent novice. So he's gonna have to prove me wrong this weekend. So yeah, I'll stay away from him. I think strong leader, he just is too unreliable at 2-1. I mean, I think this is good conditions for him. Flat track, left-handed, goes well fresh. But again, I think just he doesn't, for a 2-1 bet. You want something you can rely on a bit, and that's not for me. I'll go for the mare. Take no chances. She gets weight all round here. Admirable filly. She competes at all different distances. All graded, handicap. She's done the lot. So I think she had a nice run in the Silver Trophy. Ran well that day, but I imagine she'll come on plenty for that run. And I think this would have been the early season target for this horse, and 4-1 mark when she's a filly that always does seem to run her heart out. I'll take that.
Fitting name there for you, dismissing the top two of the market. Take no chances, 6-1 to win the Wetherby West Yorkshire Hurdle. Caught a lot of harsh tame comments there about unreliability and inconsistency with the main market rivals here. Are you going to put this man down on his sword?
I'm going to stick with strong leader. I think Matty might have been a bit harsh on this horse about the consistency. I mean, it's ran 14 times over hurdles, has been in the top 3 8 times. So I'm not too sure if that's not consistent, then I think there'll be a lot of horses out there that'll be feeling sorry for themselves right now. Like you said, Matty made a good point about the flat track. I think that's a big factor here. Sean Bone and Ollie Murphy are going great guns at the minute, so that's another tick in both boxes there. It's rated 157, much more than Potter's Charm, rated 145. So he's got plenty of room in the weights there. Take no chances. We'll probably run a good race. Like Matty said, can run over any distance, handicaps, graded races. Always seems to run her heart out. So at 6-1 there, that's probably your muggy each way bet if that's the way you like to bet. But I think strong leader at 2-1 probably represents a bit of value. I know Ollie Murphy said that he's going to train this horse a bit differently this season. That's why he's starting off in this race. Sometimes he goes to Newbury and Ascot, but I'd imagine a run here. Hopefully win, and then is it the long walk at Ascot around Christmas time?
Yeah, it's around the same
Yeah,
time.
I'd imagine end up over that way, but I couldn't give any of the Irish shots a look here with Winter Fog and Maxim, and the other one down at the bottom, Staffordshire Not. The other scout and runner that's entered, Joyish Mation, that is definitely just going for a run to knock £3 off its back for later on down the line. And then you've got Botex has as well, which is not the horse that once was very unreliable sort of late. So yeah, plenty of holes to put in a lot of other horses, but I think I can't put too many holes in strong leader. So at 2-1, I will be having a bet on.
Yeah, the two things I'd agree with you there is he is going to perform better on flat decks. He's tried Cheltenham a couple of times. We mentioned it at the weekend, and just doesn't seem to be his place, does it, unfortunately? So the long walk and the Ascot type race is probably more suited to him in the back end of the season. And I agree that the Irish contingent here genuinely is like Willie's and Gordon's like 15th string. I mean, I'd be surprised if any of them actually ran, to be fair. I can't see any of them. Staffordshire Not definitely won't, but the others I just couldn't see coming over, to be honest. I think it's just a bit of entry planning. I don't agree with you on the winner, but I've gone for one at a big price here, and it's a horse that in the last like 3-4 runs now is one that you can now start to get on side of, and I was a little bit surprised at the price. Maybe he's not going, I'm not sure. Johnny the Great here at 14-1 just really surprised me as a big price, to be honest. Obviously was very disappointing at the very early stages of last season. He pulled up a couple of times at Ascot and Kempton, but his last 3 runs was second at Haydock in a Class 2 handicap. Obviously went on to win the Pretemps final. under Brian Hughes at the festival. Very nice ride there. And then went over to the Punchestown Festival and finished second behind Jericho de Repany, who again, I think is a very good horse as well over hurdles. So I think this horse is very slowly starting to get its way around, and maybe actually is probably one that would prefer the undulating courses of Punchestown and Cheltenham and Haydock. But I think for the most part, there's a good chance here at 14-1. He's a big old price to sneak in a little win here. I didn't have a massive opinion on it. I wanted to avoid the top of the market too. I've never been a big strong leader fan. And then the others I just didn't really have a strong take on. So 14-1 there about Doddy the Great for me in the West Yorkshire Hurdle. What would have for a very long time, I suppose, Matty, been the feature of this weekend when it was in its Grade 1 status, the Bet365 Charlie Hall Chase is where we'll go to next, is now a race that is really, unfortunately, starting to fall out of the early part of the calendar. Protectorate's the 5-2 favourite for that, of course, has won a Ryanair in his past and has had some very, very nice days out. Big Dory, a bit of a surprise here. He must have mistaken Ascot for Wetherby on his entry sheet. Paul Nichols here is 4-1. Hewitt comes over at 5. Jello at 6 is 10-1. About any of the others, if they did decide to turn up here. Protectorate, an old favourite of yours at the yard when you were at Skelton's, Matty, and has been reliable, I think is the right word. He always gives you a good run for his money. Has won some big races, of course, in the past. He's won a Betfair, he's won a Ryanair. I mean, on statistics and ratings, he is the right favourite. It's just when do you back him?
Yeah, interesting to see him out this early, to be honest. Kind of the same for Pick Dory as well. But I suppose, you know, these horses are 10 years of age now, and their days are limited. And, you know, owners and trainers, if they feel they're in good form, it's kind of get to the point now where just run them and, you know, see what they've got to offer. Obviously, both, you know, 2 absolute stars, and then, you know, we're forgetting about Hewitt here as well, but 3, you know, veterans now in 10 years of age, and they've all had some superb days, and I imagine given us punters plenty of winners throughout their careers. So it's good to see them out. Hopefully all 3 turn up. I think that makes for a decent renewal of the race, albeit it's not, you know, of the quality that it once used to be. But again, with the early season and the, you know, the amount of dry weather we've had, you're just not going to get, you know, any of these Gold Cup horses out at this time of year. Tricky to pick a selection, to be honest. I think I'll go with Hewitt. Had a run already this year. This looks like it's going to be the target. I know he's entered in Down Royal, but
he's been scratched now from Down Royal.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this looks like the obvious the obvious target. Match fitness on his side. You know, he's normally a fine jumper. He's coming back over fences after winning over hurdles last time at Thurles, and as long as that doesn't bother him too much, which I don't think it will, I think he'll be the one to side with here. I'll get back on board with Pick Dory when he's back around Ascot, and Protectorate, I imagine Windsor will be, you know, his big aim again for that very valuable conditions chase there. So yeah, I'll play Hewitt in the race.
I'll agree with you. I'll just jump in straight and agree with Hewitt as well. I like that he had that hurdle race there a couple of weeks ago just to get fitness back on his side. The ground is good at the minute. There is meant to be sort of droplets of rain around Wetherby and Yorkshire for the next couple of days. So hopefully you don't want it to get too soft. Otherwise, he probably won't run. Obviously, Shark's had a horrible time of things in the last year, so there's no surprise to see him taking his horses over to England to try and get some qualified rides under his own shoes. I kind of look at the rest of these horses and think, well, they're in the wrong place. Jello should be going to the Peterborough Chase. Big Dory should be going to the Ascot Chase. I just think, like, well, everything kind of just lines up for Hewitt here to be in the right place at the right time over 3 miles. You trust him. He's won a King George, of course. Protectorate, I still think his best is over 2.5 miles. Equally, Pick Dory, I just think is about a 2.5 mile. He doesn't really seem to be around 3 miles much these days. But it's effectively a veteran's chase with a grade 2 tag. And I just thought Hewitt at 5-1 would take my money if any of them were going to. Kind of interested to see where you go with these, because you'll have had good affection with all these corner horses at the top of the market over the years. And I mean, you even go down to the likes of Real Whacker at 10-1. Crook Park's entered here at 16s, but I don't think he'll go. Sam Brown's in there as well. Like, there's some old names in here. It's a nice fun race to have a bet on, but you wouldn't be making your millions on it.
No, I mean, I would really like to get stuck into Jello, but I don't think, well, the rain and the ground won't come. I think it opened up about 5-2 and it's now 6-1. So I think that just about shows that horse's chances regarding the weather forecast. I did think one was interesting down the market. Protectorate for me at 5-2 is probably not a bet this early on in the season. Made its reappearance last year in the Paddy Power Gold Cup at Cheltenham, the November one. So that's out a couple of weeks earlier than normal.
Yeah.
Like you both said about Pick Dory, Ascot specialist. I did see reports this week of Hewick. They're going to target the Stayers hurdle, which I thought was interesting. And then you're making your way down to last year's winner, the Real Whacker, who I think could represent some value here at 10-1. Had a run last month at Perth in a Class 2, came second and stayed on nicely, got a little bit outpaced and then plugged on again and showed that, that he's still got the heart. He won the race last year. And it was a decent enough race last year. Beat Brave Man's Game, beat Conflated. I think if you can put the same performance in last year than he did this year, then he certainly won't be out the 3 at 10-1. So I'll go the Real Whacker each way.
One-time Cheltenham Festival winner there, the Real Whacker, of course, broke all of our Jerry Cullen hearts that day. But has been a good model of consistency over the years for Patrick Neville and could just go win it again, like you said last year. It's a very difficult race, I thought. So all options on the table there for that one. Onto the Ascot side of things as well. We thought we'd bring a couple of handicaps in. We'll start with the 310 there, the brilliantly named Lavazza handicap hurdle. First of the big handicap hurdles I think we've covered this year. Alexi, the 13-2 favourite, and then an absolute whole host of them in and around single-digit to double-digit prices. Not working, of course, on declarations, which is a bit frustrating with these handicap hurdles. But you look for a lot of things, don't you, really, here, Matty? You're going down, of course, on Saturday as well, apparently, to Ascot. And I suppose you look for, horses that have done it there before, a bit of, conditional fitness and things like that. I mean, these races are tricky, but if you land this one, then you've got about a month of the podcast of not worrying about having to put a tip up.
Yeah, very tricky race, to be honest. It's tricky with these kind of contests early on in the season. I think Alexi is a rightful favourite. Definitely holds the most potential in this field. There's a lot of older horses in there, and then some lower rated horses. And just think based on the potential of this horse, I'll happily play him at 5-1. Second in the Welsh champion hurdle behind Celtic Dino. I think Celtic Dino is a horse very much on the up, and I don't think he lost anything in defeat that day, this horse. So, won first time out last season as well, will be in a maiden hurdle. But I think if Joe Tizard's got him spot on, this could be a nice stepping stone for this horse to hopefully step up into, more competitive and better handicaps. So yeah, I'll take Alexi, but again, tricky race for the start of the season.
Could be a very nice Saturday for the Brocade Racing ownership team there at Ascot. Alexi there for you, 13-2 near the top of the market for Joe Tizard. Brendan Powell already jocked up. Caught. I won't waste too much time here. Just give me the winner of this very easy to pick out handicap hurdle.
Yeah, I share the same view as Matty, really, with Alexi. I think what he said is pretty much bang on, but I'm going a little bit further down the list, and I'll stick to my each way plays this week for Fasol, for Paul Nicholls and Freddie Keatley came in 7. Freddie's had a good start to the season. I think he's 3 winners from 6 rides for his boss Paul Nicholls. So that's a healthy enough strike rate. This horse wouldn't be always at the top of my radar to back. He's ran 10 times over hurdles. He's ran once. He's come second 4 times. He doesn't always put it all in, but he has had a run 20 days ago at Chepstow in a novice race, come in 5th. So hopefully that's just helped his fitness along for this. He's carrying 10 stone 7. Freddie Keatley's claiming 7. So we got a 10 stone on our back, and hopefully can run a decent enough race at 11-1 and give Freddie Keatley a big Saturday winner.
That makes 2 of us. I'm going to agree and go with Fasol there myself as well at 11-1. I think that this horse has now just finally reached a stage where he's well enough handicapped to win. And like you said there, Freddie Keefe taking a little bit more off as well. I just think the weight's going to work around there. But I'm just hoping Paul Nicholls really is starting to roll into a bit of form more than anything, I suppose. And it's funny enough, this is a really disgusting story. So what I do on the Monday before the festival is I go into the Paddy Power in Cheltenham, because Taunton always have a card on the Monday, don't they? Because people talk about going to Stratford or Taunton. And this horse was even money. And I went and had a big disgusting bet on it to try and pay for my entire Tuesday. And I absolutely fell in like it was disgusting. I mean, it won by 3 lengths, but you just wouldn't believe it. And there was people looking around me thinking, why is he cheering on an even money shot at Taunton the day before the festival? Regardless, it won. And hopefully it can turn that Taunton form into a nice handicap win at Ascot. I've been favourably beyond side him since he had that wind up at the start of the year. I've backed him all 4 times, actually, that it's ran. I got beat 1-5. That was horrible. But I'm hoping that he is able to find a little bit of form here. I really do like this fast sauce. So I think 11-1 to pick up a handicap hurdle is very much in his perennial vision for Saturday. We'll finish with another handicap from Saturday on the Ascot card. The 345 there is the Sodexo Live Gold Cup handicap chase. Once again, sort of wide open in terms of fielding here. Haiti Galore, I think, just had a little bit of work there as well at Fosterlass after racing today, is the 4-1 favourite at the top of the market. The Change of Man, who didn't run, unfortunately, last week when we put him up at 5-1, and then it's Katate Dory at 7-1. I'll come to you then again, Matty, for this one. Haiti Galore won the Irish National last year. This would be a seasonal reappearance, probably not where a lot of us thought he might turn up for his first run of the season. If he did go here, would he be one you're on side with?
I don't think so. I think it's been made quite clear that this horse is going to need his first out, and I know he's had a gallop at Fosterlass today after racing, but I think there's a lot bigger aims for this horse, and you know, I've heard rumours that he might even, if he doesn't run here, he's going to go for a run over hurdles. Is it a Chepstow or Newbury and a Potemps qualifier? So I don't think this horse will come to Ascot on Saturday. So then I'm going to stick with the horse I was very sweet on for Cheltenham. You know, I've made no bones about it. I was very confident of this horse, and I was gutted that he didn't end up being declared. But looking hopefully like he'll come here, and you know, I don't need to say too much about the horse, but I think he's been incredibly consistent. Still only 8, so plenty of room for progression for this horse, and showed some really nice form last season. Second in the Ultima, third around Aintree and behind Caldwell Potter. So I think hoping that he comes here and we can make the most of the 5 or 6-1 on the day.
One at Ascot over 3 miles last season, the Change of Man, who didn't run at Cheltenham last week, presumably with this in mind, as well as they decided that Joe Tizard decided to split his pair up over the 3 mile handicaps. You've always been quite big on Haiti Galore. Again, it's a positional issue here, really, for him, isn't it? Because I mean, if he goes, he has to carry 11-11. I mean, there's, you know, it doesn't sound like he's going to go. What's your stance on the race?
Yeah, we'll look away from the top of the market again here, and I will go for a horse that's got 100% record round course and distance, and that is Henry's Friend for Ben Jones and Ben Paulin around the 8-1 mark. They're ticking along nicely, the pair of them at the minute. Ben Jones and Paulin make a good team. Had a nice winner today at Fosterlass. Like you said, happy to take on Haiti Colours. I think carrying 11 stone 11 with bigger targets later on down the line. And then you come on to the Change of Man, who, yeah, respectable horse, always runs his race. So you'd have to give that one a decent enough chance. But I just thought, Henry's Friend at 8-1. Paulins are normally, you know, run well throughout the year, so the 203-day layoff doesn't really bother me too much as it would through some other yards. So yeah, I'm happy to put that up at 8-1 each way as well.
Yeah, he's been one of my favourite handicap chasers over the last couple of seasons. Henry's Friend always seems to find a nice touch on the early part of the season as well, so there's nothing I would put you off there. I'm right in between you two in the middle of the market here as well. I've gone for Katate Dory in the Sam Thomas colours. I'm a big fan of his horses and how he trains them. I had him at Kempton earlier in the, last season, just before the festival. In one of the podcasts we put up, he absolutely blitzed them, won by 15 lengths. It was a stunning ride from Charlie Deutsch, who just bowled along from the front. It was brilliant. Didn't get round in the ultimate, but I suppose, again, different kettle of fish. You drop him back down here into the middle of the weights, and you think to yourself, off 10 stone 10 currently, I think 137, he's still quite well weighted. There's a chance for improvement. He's probably won as well. I haven't yet, but if I was going to pull a trigger on one for the ultimate today, I think in a year's time, maybe when he turns 8, he might have a bit of a better chance of getting around the hill. If not, flat decks seem to suit him pretty well. He's won over 3 miles before as well. So I think around 7-1 for this one's a pretty fair chance. But like you said, it's a wide open handicap. It could be any one of those. Hopefully 3 to take on Haiti Color at the top of the markets. There's your 5 races then for this week in the books. We'll head over then to our nap of the week selections anywhere in the world. Bit of a hint for where I'm going to go for mine. And we will see where the boys are going to take us for theirs. Give it to me, OJ. My God, what a touch he landed for us there at the weekend. I'm off the board. I've got my first one of the season. I think have you had a losing nap yet? I don't think you have you? I can see you're scanning, so I'll come back to you in a minute for yours. Matty, loads of racing this weekend. You've got Wetherby, you're down at Ascot. I'm sure you've got something up your sleeve from some Class 5 track on a Thursday.
No, I'm gonna put my trust in a horse that's been very good for me. Runs on Saturday at Ascot in the other Premier handicap, the one we didn't feature, the 205, 2 mile one. I think it's normally called the Burn or something like that. But yeah, Marta Tour runs here for Venetia Williams and Charlie Deutsch. Now, the only doubt I have with this horse is that Venetia has only had one runner in the last 2 weeks, and it was a favourite that got beat. But if there was ever a horse to kick off her season with a win, it would be this horse. Absolutely loves it around Ascot. 3-time course and distance winner. The good ground won't be a problem. And he's just £1 above his last winning mark, which came over the course and distance. So this looks like a good chance to get this horse back on track. And I just think with Boot Hill running in the race, he's going to carry 10 stone 12, which is a lovely, lovely weight. And yeah, he's a horse that's won me plenty of pennies last season and round Ascot. So I'll go back to the reliable and a very nice price. I think the price is more based on the form of the trainer than the actual horse's ability. But if you're willing to give Venetia a chance to get off the mark, then this horse is a very nice price.
Yeah, good ground at Ascot as this bread and butter Mars runs on the 205 Ascot at Saturday. A little bit of envy for one Tristan Doyle at the top of the market there. He's on Ludasud. You discounting that off 11 stone 12?
Yeah, a really good ride for Tris. I spoke to him about it the other day, and he's excited. Hopefully, horse gets declared and all goes ahead. But I think there was a few doubts over this horse's. Don't know the best way to say it, but he perhaps putting his best foot forward in the Arkle, and then they tried cheek pieces at Aintree, and they didn't really seem to have the desired effect. And I think first time in a handicap off 155, it's a big ask for the horse, but it'll be great to see Tris win that race, and I'm sure it's an opportunity he's very excited about.
Yeah, and hopefully he's not on trainer instruction to put the brakes on and try to take £5 off there. But March Tour for you at 6-1. Looking to take him on at the weekend. Court, we're all relying on you really for a winner here. Just give us one.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Stratford on Thursday in the 247. Be Aware was sent off 3-1 favourite for the Coral Cup. Somehow, don't know how a horse can be that short in the Coral Cup, but yeah, sent off 3-1 favourite in the Coral Cup. Came 8th out of 26, and then went for another big handicap at the Aintree Festival. Also went off favourite that day, and came 8th that day as well. Makes his handicap chase debut at Stratford on Thursday. I just don't think there's too much in the race really that can challenge him, and Be Aware really should be taking this prize. You should be getting an okayish price, I'd imagine, it won't be odds on, but yeah, range might be up there, but apart from that, there's nothing else really in the market. So yeah, hopefully the Scoutons will get a nice Class 3 winner at Stratford on Thursday. It is interesting to point out, we did bring up on the podcast the other week, the trainer Toby Ballgren, who's had a nice couple of bumper winners recently. He does have one in the last as well, a bumper horse. His missus owns it. It's the black colours with the light green cap. Johnny Burke rides one in the bumper on Stratford on Thursday, so that's also one to watch. Obviously, I don't have a clue what the prize will be because it's a bumper and none of them have ran. But yeah, it could be one to watch out for, and if it wins well, see if it gets changed hands later on down the line.
Possibly a little end of the card double there for you at Stratford. You've gone for the Happy Birthday Samantha Borland handicap chase on the Thursday at Stratford. Very interesting, but we don't doubt you ever. I'm going to take you across the pond for mine on Saturday as a little bit of a teaser towards the podcast that we will be recording tomorrow for the Breeders' Cup. It's a horse that I've been eyeing up, and I was hoping he would get a low draw. You don't get much lower than stall 1, do you? The 901 on the Saturday from the Breeders' Cup is the Distaff. I've gone from Nitrogen. Jose Ortiz is going to take the ride here for Mark Cassie. He's currently 4-1 second favourite in the market. Would probably have been an undefeated 3-year-old, to be fair, if it wasn't for 2 times where he got pipped on the post, but otherwise has picked up a set of grade 1s. Jose Ortiz has been unbelievably good on this horse over in the States. Has got the fastest pace of the dirt horses. Seismic Beauty's the favourite for Bob Baffert. He's been very good. He's on a 3-timer and probably deserves to be favourite, but I thought Nitrogen, I've been waiting to get a good price on him all season. I think 4-1 to win the Distaff is an absolute gift. I've gone through the entire card really from Del Mar on Saturday, and I think this is the one that I'll have my biggest bet on. Really consistent type, of course, has been, 4 wins, 2 seconds, has just been unbelievably on the money. Will not be outside the top 2 and has even money to get into the top 2, but I think 4s at the price should be very nicely in there as well. Cheltenham choices, because the big man himself was very confident. He told me he's got one, but wouldn't tell me what it is, which makes things very exciting for me and you here, Matty, because he could be off the rails here. Is he going to go Cornell in the Champion Hurdle? Is he going to go for a Ryanair winner? Is he going to try and fix something for the bumper in October? I've got no idea, neither do you. Let's hear what he's got to say.
No, it's a winner that I backed on Saturday at Cheltenham that I was very impressed with, and it's Conman John to win the Albert Bartlett at 25-1. I was very impressed with this horse on Saturday. I thought his jumping, there was a bit to be improved on. He was when he was getting to his hurdles, he was looking a bit, what are these? But he actually jumped them well. But I think that's just more greenness than anything. And he looked a bit green when he came round the bend, but really quickened up nicely and looked to relish that hill. And I think that Albert Bartlett could bring out the best of him, and yeah, I'm really sweet on that. It's got carries the same colours as a Hoy Senior, and I just think that horse could be every bit of a Hoy Senior and more.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he ran quite well at the weekend at Cheltenham. I mean, the most impressive thing for me was the way he was able to kind of stay on. It looked like the further the better for him. So I can see why you've gone down the Albert Bartlett route with him. And I think 25-1, that's a fair price really for this time of year. So trying to get one up for the British side of things there, Conman John 25-1 for the Albert Bartlett. Interesting.
Do you think he's likely to stay the Albert Bartlett trip, Bob, of 3 Mile? Or?
Do you want my honest opinion of what he's just done? He's probably just picked like the 16th in the Albert Bartlett, because the second you start seeing like 3 Mile, like Mullins and like Henderson and Elliott horses run, you think to yourself, what a stupid October pick that was. But if you're going to have any tip this side of Christmas, you know what you're buying into. And he's already proved he gets up the hills, so maybe he will.
She did have the 3rd in the race last year as well, Derry Hassan Paddy. And I mean, if I can't imagine Lucinda Russell listens to the podcast, but if she did, we might have to change our name to the Lucinda Russell podcast, because I've put one up for the festival and Cott's just put another one of hers up for the festival. So yeah, we're obviously very complimentary of her.
Yeah, all big fans of Lucinda Russell here on the podcast, to be fair. Have you got any for this week?
Not for me yet. No, I didn't see anything at the weekend that caught my eye. There's a few in the eye line that I'm eyeing up, but I'm just waiting to see how other areas of the division weigh out before I commit to one.
Waiting for the Irish horses to run, you mean?
No, definitely not.
We'll hopefully be back with a couple of more tips from Cheltenham this week, but we've got one there for you to take on big price for the Albert Bartlett at the end of the season. Just a final reminder as well, this isn't the first and only podcast you'll hear from us this week. We will be back tomorrow for the Breeders' Cup to take you through the $36 million worth of racing from Del Mar. I'm very much looking forward to that. And next week, it really starts to roll in now, doesn't it, lads, with the racing, because we've got the Badger Beer and the Grand Sefton to come, and then before you know it, we're back at Cheltenham for the November meeting. Before then, we go to the Betfair, the Hennessy, into the Kempton meeting at Christmas, and all of that good stuff, as well as back to Cheltenham for a third time before Santa comes. Matty, thank you very much for coming on, and I'm sure looking forward to getting down to one of the best race courses in the country in Ascot at the weekend. It is never a bad day out.
Yeah, no, hopefully I'm hoping that the whatever this flu is gone by then, because this is not nice. But yeah, it'd be good to get down there, and I'm excited to see a few nice handicaps, and hopefully try and win a few quid, and yeah, happy days.
Happy days indeed. Cort, I feel like I haven't asked you this in forever, but have you got any weekend plans, any drinking that we need to know about?
No, just football on Sunday, and yeah, we got a cup game in Birmingham at 10 o'clock. So I think it'll have to be a quiet Saturday, because I don't fancy going over there at the crack of dawn.
That'll go out the window once we beat Liverpool at Anfield on Saturday night.
Well, yeah, there is that, but we'll try to stick to our guns and have a couple quieter weeks ready for Cheltenham in November.
No football talk after the weekend. That was terrible. Good, happy day. Strictly in pajamas for you on Saturday, then straight into the race, into the football on Sunday. Enjoy the racing, folks. Fantastic little car, grade ones this weekend galore. I'm back, of course, for the Breeders' Cup. Like I said, tomorrow I've got enough plugs in now. Matty, Cotty, thank you very much for coming on. We'll be back next weekend for more National Hunt racing. Thank you for giving us your time. We'll see you then. Get you